Notice how fast you say sorry before asking for something you actually need. You'll add no worries if not to a request that matters to you. That reflex isn't politeness, it's a trained fear that your needs are a burden. You're the one who texts first, remembers the birthday, asks how the interview went. If you stopped initiating tomorrow, how many of those people would notice within a week? Because the answer scares you, and it should. We're going to talk about why the most giving person in the room is usually the emptiest one, and what actually fixes it. You're the friend who remembers everyone's coffee order, who shows up with soup when someone's sick, who never lets a conversation end without making sure the other person feels okay. From the outside, it looks like a big heart. You're scanning the room for who needs managing. You're rehearsing what to say so no one gets upset. You're doing emotional labor nobody asked for and everybody's gotten used to. Someone offers to grab your bags, cover a shift, sit with you while you cry, and you wave it off before you even consider it. Needing help feels more exposing than giving it ever could. Asking a coworker to switch a meeting time turns into 3 sentences of justification. You're not explaining, you're pre apologizing, building a case for why you're allowed to take up space. Quietly, you notice who hasn't texted back, who forgot to ask about your week, who only calls when they need something. You feel it, but you rarely say it out loud. Nobody sits down and decides to trade favors for affection. It happens underneath automatically, which is exactly why it's so hard to catch yourself doing it. Making someone feel good isn't the goal, it's the mechanism. If I make you feel happy, cared for, understood, then something in me gets to feel worthy for a minute. Somewhere back in your history, being wanted didn't come free. It came from being useful, agreeable, easy, low maintenance. So you build a self that earns its welcome instead of assuming it. If you were the helpful one, the responsible one, the one who never caused problems, you got to stay close to people. That childhood math never got updated, it just got quieter. Kids who grow up needing to manage someone else's mood become adults who can sense a shift in tone before anyone speaks. That skill kept you safe once. Now it runs constantly, uninvited. When your sense of being okay depends on how someone else reacts to you, you never actually own it. You're renting it out, one interaction at a time, and the rent is due constantly. No relationship survives on a single current forever. Either the giver burns out or the taker gets used to never reaching back, and either way, something that looks stable quietly collapses. Think of a relationship you carried alone for months or years. You already know how this one ends, if nothing changes, because you watched it happen before. You say no to the favor. You let the group chat message sit unanswered for a day. You stop being the one who always folds first. Good, healthy, correct. You expected relief. Instead, there's this hollow, unsettled feeling, like you did something wrong even though you didn't. That reaction is the part almost nobody warns you about. Right here, in this exact discomfort, is where most people abandon the change and slide back into old patterns. Not because the old way worked, but because this new way feels unbearable. You stop overextending yourself, which should feel like space opening up. Instead, it feels like standing in an empty room where a crowd used to be. You are no longer the fixer, the always available one, the emotional shock absorber. But you haven't built whoever comes next. You're in between two selves, and in between feels like nothing. The loneliness isn't proof you made a mistake. It's the literal physical gap between the pattern you stopped running and the healthier one that hasn't had time to form yet. It's the quiet after you don't text first and nobody else does either. It's declining to help and sitting with the awkward silence instead of rushing to fill it. Some people were only close to you because of what you gave them. When you stop giving on demand, they drift. And that drifting feels like rejection, even though it's just exposure. Think about the first weeks of actually eating better or training seriously. The old comfort food is gone, but your body hasn't caught up to feeling good yet. It gets worse before it gets better every time. The withdrawal has started. The reward hasn't arrived. That's not failure. That's just where week 2 of any real change always lives. For years, being needed equaled being safe. So when you stop being endlessly needed, some old part of your brain reads the quiet as a threat, even though nothing bad is actually happening. You'll want to fire off that overly generous text, offer to cover the thing you shouldn't, smooth over a conflict that wasn't yours to smooth. That urge is the gap trying to close itself the fast, familiar way. Slipping into the old pattern buys you a few days of relief. But the loneliness was never really about the giving, so it comes right back the next time you try to stop. Not because discomfort is noble, but because this specific discomfort is the only road that leads somewhere different than where you've already been. You are not less lovable now that you're giving less. You were never loved for the giving in the first place, even though it felt that way for years. If someone disappears the moment you stop being useful to them, they were never in a relationship with you. They were in a relationship with what you did for them. A relationship where both people give and both people receive isn't a lesser, colder version of love. It's what love was supposed to look like all along. When you let someone carry something for you, you're giving them the chance to matter to you the same way you always matter to them. That's not a burden, that's intimacy. It's not a dramatic conversation. It's saying, I need someone to check on me too. Or can you plan this time instead of me? And then actually letting them. Some will step up in ways that surprise you, others won't. Both answers are information you were never able to get while you kept giving without asking anything back. They get a little confused, maybe, but they stay, and slowly they start reaching toward you instead of only receiving. That's the new pattern arriving. Friendships where you're checked on and not just checking. Love where you're comforted, not just comforting. That's not a fantasy, it's just untested territory for you. Who initiates more? Who remembers more? Who bends more when plans change? Be honest. This isn't about blame, it's about seeing the pattern clearly for the first time. If you stop being the reliable one, the fixer, the one who never needs anything, would that relationship survive? If you're not sure, you already have your answer. If reading this made you feel defensive or guilty towards someone specific, that's not an accident. That's the pattern recognizing itself. You're not being asked to become cold or withhold love as a power move. You're being asked to stop paying for love with your entire self. You already know the text you've been over explaining, the favor you keep saying yes to when you mean no. You don't need more insight. You need to actually do the uncomfortable thing. When you do it and it feels hollow for a while, that's not evidence you failed. That's the gap, right on schedule, exactly like it's supposed to happen. You don't need the perfect script or the ideal moment. You need one smaller act of letting someone else carry something this week. Sit with that question honestly before you answer it. Most people never do. And that's exactly how the pattern survives another year. Drop a comment with the relationship this made you question. No names needed. Naming it out loud is the first real step out of the gap. Next video, how to actually ask for what you need without the apology attached. If today names something true for you, that one will help you practice it.